What's up, high school? How you guys doing? I am so glad that you guys are here tonight. This is going to be our second week of this new series called What to Do When You Don't Know What to Do. I hope you guys enjoyed last week's message. I also hope you are staying around for the Zoom small group meetings afterwards. If you don't know where those links are, they are down below, right below. All you got to do is click on those. It'll take you right to the meeting. And Shane and I and Melinda and Sam would love to talk to you guys over these small group meetings over Zoom. Also, let us know that you're here in this live chat over here. We just want to see who is watching and just acknowledge your presence. We just miss you, so we're trying to connect with you guys. Also, just wanted to let you know and remind you of the one bad news that we got going on, and that's that our mission trip this summer was actually canceled. That actually wasn't our choice. That was Next Ministry's choice. They canceled not only ours, but every single mission trip that they had this summer. So it's really sad, and it's not anything good. And I hope that you are as sad as we are, but I also ask you to just pray for Next Step Ministries, because that must have been a big cut for them. That's a lot of money that they're not going to get, and it also means that all the missions that they were going to do aren't going to happen, which means those people who they were helping aren't going to be helped. So just pray for them right now for the next 10 seconds. And then after that, we will hear from a new message from Shane Wiley. It's going to be a great one.
So, when you don't know how to do something, how to fix something, or how something works, what do? Ask a teacher? Ask your parents? Ask your friends? Ask someone you really know and trust? No! You go to the internet and ask some randos. But I'm not talking about creeps here, I hope. No, I mean the people of the internet! You know, those people who make how-to videos. Because chances are, if you're trying to figure out something, someone on the internet has already figured it out for you. Things like, how do I unsend a text? No. How do I do a winged eyeliner? How do I get rid of the zit by Friday night? How do I get out of gym class? How do I screen cap Snapchat without getting caught? They'll never know. But then there are things in life that don't have an easy fix, that don't have a simple solution, that don't have a how-to video. Things like what to do when you have problems with family, or when it seems like you have no control in your life, or what to do when someone has done something to you. I mean, clearly, they gotta go. The truth is, there's a lot of life that doesn't have a solution you can just find online. So how do you know what to do when you don't know what to do?
What is up, high schoolers? I love you guys a lot, and I miss you guys a lot. This has been just such a weird, funky, strange time, and I don't really know a lot of what to do with myself. Obviously, like, I'm still coming to work and still like generating content and stuff, but it's weird to generate content that to an empty room like this. If you could see, there's just like empty chairs everywhere, and it's weird, but here we are. But I'm excited to share this message with you tonight. I think the reason that we chose this series is just it's so absolutely relevant to what it is that we're going through right now, because let's be honest, nobody really knows what to do. And so maybe we can pull some truth out of this series together, in this series, what to do when you don't know what to do. And so let me open it up by asking you this question. Do you guys ever just like overuse emojis when you text? Now, I'm not a big emoji user, I'll be honest, but I know people who are, right? Who are absolutely unable to share any kind of like basic thought without like 16 emojis after it. It's really funny, actually, like when Jake FaceTimes or calls Ob, he uses Siri a lot, and he has, I'm telling on Jake here a little bit, but he has a heart emoji and then like one of the monkeys emojis. So whenever he tells Siri, like, hey Siri, call Ob, it says, calling Alb, red heart, mouth covering monkey. It's just really funny and stupid, but funny. Not stupid that you have cute emojis after your wife, Jake. That's not what I'm saying at all. But just like the way that we use emojis it's kind of weird. And I'll be frank and honest with you. I don't really use emojis all that much. There are a couple that I use. I'm a big thumbs up guy, right? So rather than saying like yes or okay, give you the thumbs up. One that I've been using a lot recently is because, let's be honest, this is how I feel a lot of the time right now. And another one that I've been using a lot is like the face palm because sometimes it just communicates exactly what I need communicated. And that's kind of the beauty of emojis, right? They help us to talk without having to use words. They help us to communicate how we feel without having to use words. And there are a few emojis that I don't really use often, but when I do, I think that they just really like communicate so much more than like words could ever say. And you may know what I'm talking about. It's like the emoji who's just like the eyes and no face. No mouth at all, right? The eyes with no mouth. Face with an open mouth. This is my best emoji impression, by the way. And the face with emotion, with an open mouth and raised eyebrows. And those are really good emojis for communicating the idea of shock. And I think that we've all had situations where we have no words. We're just like, I have no words for this. We were shocked. I kind of like the first one the best, the face with no mouth at all, because it represents those moments where not only are you shocked, but that you don't even have words to say. It's when we hear about something or something happens that we just absolutely can't make any sense of. And I'd venture to say that most of the time, these shock emojis are sent with texts that report something happening that was shocking in a bad way. Something that catches us off guard and hits us out of nowhere. And that, my friends, is what we're going to be talking about today. Have you ever experienced anything like that in your life before? Something that simply rocked your world, that caught you off guard, it made you feel uncertain and caused you a lot of hurt? Maybe you felt this way when you got the news that your parents were splitting up. You thought maybe that everything was okay, that their marriage was fine. You had no idea that things were bad. And all of a sudden your parents just tell you, hey, like, we're through, we're splitting up. No words. Maybe a friend of yours had something mean to say about you, but rather than texting like another person that mean thing to say about you, they accidentally sent that text to you, and you know that it was sent to you, and it's like, I have no words for this. Maybe you felt this way when your mom and dad told you that you were moving to a different city, to a different state, for a new job that they had accepted. Maybe you felt this way at an injury that just ended your sports season. Maybe you felt this way whenever schools started canceling and seasons started being canceled and programs and plays and all of the things that you were excited in for the semester started getting canceled. Maybe you got dumped. Or maybe worse, you went to break up with somebody and they were actually like relieved. It's like, what? I don't have words for that. Maybe you got a rejection letter from the college that you were really wanting to attend, or maybe you didn't do as good on like the ACT or SAT, those college entry tests. That means that you're going to just have to work that much harder to get into the college that you want to. And unfortunately, that list could go on for a really long time with examples of times when we got our world rocked by some shocking news or circumstances. And if you haven't experienced yet, there will be a time in your life when this happens, I promise. And the thing about these shockingly painful moments is that they often hit us totally out of nowhere. And it's because of that, it's because it's difficult for us to know how they'll make us feel. And because of that, it's difficult for us to know how we're going to respond. Sometimes we surprise ourselves by how we handle it. We think, wow, I figured this news would put me on the edge, but actually, I'm okay. Sometimes Sometimes we surprise ourselves by how much it tears us apart. We think, I don't even know why I'm so upset about this, but I am a wreck. Sometimes we feel closer to God when stuff rocks us. But other times we wonder if God is there at all. And because we're all wired differently, the fact of the matter is that we all experience and process pain differently as well. But that doesn't change the fact that hurt hurts. And when life hurts, we find ourselves wondering what to do next. And friends, that's part of the reason why we're doing this series, What to Do When You Don't Know What to Do. Because we all encounter those no word emoji moments. And so did Joseph. We began our series by talking about him last week, and this week his story continues, and let me be honest, it's one of those stories that can only be described as like the face with straight mouth emoji. This is Shane doing the face with straight mouth emoji in real life. So Joseph was one of the most famous people in the Old Testament. His story takes up a lot of the second half of the book of Genesis. It can be found there. And Joseph had some family drama. Now, some of it is family drama that he just kind of inherited, that he was raised up in. Some of his family drama was his fault, right? Let's be honest about that. His dad had a favorite child, and that favorite child was Joseph. And rather than like putting that off, or downplaying that, Joseph actually kind of leaned into that. He kind of embraced it, so much so that one night he had a dream where his brothers and his mom and dad would bow down to him, right? And rather than like keeping that dream to himself, he actually went to his brothers and to his parents and was like, I had not one, but two dreams that you guys were going to would bow down to me. Sounds pretty cool, right? And I don't know about you, but if my little brother, my fake little brother that I don't actually have, but if I had a little brother and he came up to me and he said, hey, in the future, you'll bow down to me, it's fine. I would not handle that very well, I don't think. And that's how his brothers were as well. His brothers were not okay with Joseph being his dad's favorite, and his brothers were not okay with him sharing his dreams of ruling over them one day. Check out how they responded. They saw him in the distance, and before he reached them, they plotted to kill him. That went from like 0 to 100 super quick. Here comes that dreamer, they said to each other. Come on, let's kill him and throw him into one of these cisterns and say that a ferocious animal devoured him. Then we'll see what comes of his dreams. And we got to give big brother Reuben a little bit of credit here, because despite his anger and frustration with Joseph, he knew that killing him wasn't the right thing to do, and he actually had a little bit of a conscience in this moment. So it says this: when Reuben heard this, he tried to rescue him from their hands. Let's not take his life, they said. He said, don't shed any blood. Just throw him into the cistern here in the wilderness, but don't lay a hand on him. Reuben said this to rescue him from them and take him back to his father. And thank goodness for Reuben, right? He convinces his brothers to just throw Joseph into the well, as the cistern, a well, rather than actually killing him. And it says that his plan was to go back and rescue Joseph later on and bring him safely back to his father. And fortunately, his brothers listened to Reuben, and so they ripped off his favorite jacket that dad had made and given specifically to Joseph. They ripped it off and ripped it up, threw him in a well, and dipped the jacket in animal's blood. And I can imagine that if Joseph had a cell phone, he would have just like called somebody to come get him out of the well, first of all. But let's disregard that for just a moment. If Joseph has a cell phone, he probably would have texted his best friend something like this: when your brothers tear up your jacket and throw you in a well. And then he would insert that shocked face emoji. But his brothers still aren't done with him. Another one of Joseph's older brothers, a guy named Judah, sees a bunch of traders off in the distance approaching them. So what does Judah suggest that they do? Hey, rather than leaving him in the well And rather than killing him, why don't we sell him into slavery and make some money off of this fool? And so his brothers are all about that idea, right? Murder is less bad, murder is more bad than selling him into slavery. So let's sell him into slavery. That way we don't have murder on our conscience. And by the way, let's make some money. So that's exactly what they do. They dip Joseph's cloak in blood, and they take it to the father, and they tell him that Joseph was likely attacked by an animal. And what a cover story that turns out to be. Here's what it says in the text. They took the ornate robe back to their father and said, "We found this. Examine it to see whether it is your son's robe." And friends, that last line tells us everything that we need to know about Joseph's brothers' attitude towards him and the situation. They obviously care nothing for Joseph whatsoever. They don't say, "Hey, check and see if this is Joseph's robe." Not even check and see if this is our brother's robe. They say, check and see if this is your son's robe. What a bunch of jerks, right? Insert Joseph's text number 2, right? Good news, got out of the well. Bad news, they sold me. Like, literally sold me. Shocked face emoji. I'm being a little bit lighthearted here, but there was certainly nothing lighthearted at all about Joseph's situation. We simply can't imagine the fear, the despair, the uncertainty, the anger, the hurt that Joseph felt. Betrayed by his own flesh and blood, sold into real live, actual slavery by the brothers that you grew up with. The message that they are communicating to Joseph is loud and clear. We are better off without you. What would you do? I mean, how do you get yourself unsold from slavery? This was certainly a what to do when you don't know what to do moment. And our stories, they're different than Joseph's. But while we all experience some kind of pain, we all have scary, painful, and dangerous moments that catch us off guard. We all have moments when life simply doesn't make sense and we don't have the words to process what's happening. And unfortunately for Joseph, he had more shocking moments to come in the future, and we're going to spend the next couple of weeks talking about those moments. But I want to highlight 5 powerful words that show up in the historical account of Joseph's life. While they didn't keep Joseph from getting sold into slavery or thrown into a pit or any of the other bad stuff that we'll see happens to Joseph, these 5 words literally made all the difference in Joseph's life, maybe more than anything else. The Lord was with Joseph. Joseph certainly didn't have a lot going for him in the pit, and even less going for him afterwards. But when Joseph was in despair and wondering how life would turn out, he could rely on one single truth. God was with him. This truth didn't change the reality of Joseph's situation, but it was better than being alone. This truth did not mean that Joseph could see where the story was going, but he could know that he wasn't entirely dependent on himself to get out of this situation. And this truth did not mean that Joseph could easily deal with the things that happened to him. It didn't mean that he had a reason or explanation for the pain in his life. But he didn't have to figure out things all by himself. And the same is also true for you. When there's nothing that you can do, God is with you. When life hands you the shocking news and you don't know what to do, God is with you. And truthfully, we hear that all the time, so much so that it probably doesn't mean very much for us. It's probably been watered down. We don't feel the impact of those words, but think about it for just a second. God is with you. Not in some abstract, out there kind of way, but literally, God is near. And not just near, but here, like inside of you. When you feel alone. When you and I can truly understand and embrace this truth, friends, it changes everything. Our circumstances may not change. After all, Joseph wasn't immediately returned to his family. He wasn't out of the well and no longer a slave, but it changes perspective on our situations. And maybe more than anything, it gives us hope that we can keep going even when it feels like we can't. Knowing that God is with us may not change our circumstances, but it might just change us. It might give us enough hope to keep going, even in the midst of our hopeless circumstances. It is easy to give into the hurt that we have experienced. It is easy to let fear overwhelm us or anger consume us. And we have a lot of reasons to let difficult and sometimes unfair situations get the last word. But when we know that God is with us, the uncertainty of life doesn't get the last word. God does. So what does this look like for us? There are no formulas, and there are no easy answers for getting through hard times, but here's some things that we can do. The first thing that we can do is be real. Feel your feelings. Not everyone experiences incredible luck in life. Frankly, nobody experiences incredible luck in life. We all have things that we struggle with, hurts and embarrassments, tough times and pain. And all throughout the Bible, people went through difficulties. And there are many accounts, just like the story of Joseph, where people are real and honest with God about their struggles. There are no cliches that make hard times easier. Our job isn't just to suck it up and pretend like everything is okay. If we believe that God is with us, then we know that God is more than okay with us being honest with our questions and our doubts and our fears. The second thing we can do is to remind ourselves and others that God is with us. Here's a spoiler alert for you. Everything eventually did work out for Joseph. We know that because we can go back and read his story. But in the middle of the story, when Joseph was in it, he couldn't see the end. He didn't know how things were going to turn out. There was no spoiler alerts for Joseph. And newsflash, friends, there's no spoiler alerts for you. Like, we don't know if the good things that we're experiencing are going to continue to be good, and we don't know if the bad things that we're experiencing are going to turn out to be bad or good. All Joseph could do was face each day wondering how things were going to turn out. But Joseph held on to one thing, that God was with him in moments when life was toughest. And friends, this reminder is so important because when life is at its most difficult, God is with you. And your story isn't over yet. You are in the middle of the story. Don't quit. Don't stop. Keep going. Friends, our life will be full of moments when we don't know what to do with our pain. As we head into our small group session tonight through Zoom, I want you to know that that's exactly why we do small groups. There are plenty of moments in our life where we want to insert the shocked face emoji. It's just a fact. In those moments, nobody wants to be alone. And the good news that we can cling to tonight is that we don't have to be. That you have a God, a Father, who, when you don't know what to do, is always with you. And so are we. And so is your small group. Friends, our goal, our task, our desire is to give you hope when you feel hopeless. It doesn't make the difficult situations go away. It doesn't make them stop or diminish or prevent you from having future difficult situations. But it gives you hope to know that regardless of how you feel and regardless of what your circumstances might be, you have a church community and adults and a youth pastor and a Father in heaven who love you and who want the best for you and are with you no matter how you feel. I love you guys. I can't wait to see you soon face to face. And until then, be well, stay safe, and wash your hands.